I never thought saying no could bring the police to my front yard. But when my HOA president demanded I hand over my swimming pool for her summer party, and I drained the whole thing instead, she called the cops, screaming that I was a criminal. That was the moment I realized this battle had gone way beyond community rules.
Wow.
Act 1. The Spark of Conflict. My name's Calvin Brewer. I'm 44, a husband, a dad, and a guy who thought moving into Willow Creek Estates was the best decision I'd ever made. Quiet streets, good schools, neighbors who waved on their morning walks. But behind that shiny facade sat Patricia Consincade, the HOA president. If you've never had a run-in with someone like her, let me paint the picture. Mid-50s, hair pulled into a bun so tight it looked like it was trying to pull her face back, always carrying a clipboard like it was an extension of her body. She didn't knock like a neighbor. She pounded on my door like a debt collector. When I opened it, she smiled that fake, thin smile and said, "Calvin, the board has chosen your pool for the summer kickoff party." I blinked. "Excuse me." She repeated it like it was already set in stone. My backyard, my pool would host the neighborhood party. Food, kids, floats, music, hundreds of gallons of water, dozens of strangers. On my property, I laughed, thinking she was joking. But Patricia's face didn't move, so I told her straight, "No, that's not happening. My pool is for my family, not the neighborhood." Her expression hardened. "You don't want to be known as the selfish neighbor, do you?" That word stuck like a knife. Selfish. Because I didn't want strangers trampling my backyard. I closed the door in her face, and that's when I knew this wasn't over.
Wow.
Act 2. Pressure and doubt. She came back. Of course she came back. 2 days later, Patricia showed up with her husband Leonard, poor guy, eyes glued to the sidewalk, clearly dragged along. Patricia did all the talking. "This event isn't optional. Calvin, the HOA expects participation." I told her, calm as I could, "Patricia, you can expect all you want. The answer's still no." That's when she snapped, "You'll regret this." And then came the whispers. Neighbors stopping by, awkwardly hinting that maybe I should be more flexible. One night, I even overheard Patricia telling my teenage son Julian, "Wouldn't you like to have all your friends here for a pool party?" He told her no, but that didn't stop the pit from forming in my stomach. Because here's the truth, I started doubting myself. Late one night, I sat at the kitchen table staring at HOA letters piling up, requests, reminders, thinly veiled threats, and I thought, am I the bad guy here? Am I really that unreasonable?
Child.
My wife Yvonne put her hand on mine and said, "You're not selfish. You're protecting what's ours." But Patricia's words kept echoing in my head. "You'll regret this."
Why?
The turning point. Friday evening, I stood at the edge of my pool. The water shimmered in the setting sun, perfect and calm, and I realized something. All of Patricia's power over me came down to that water. So what if I just took it away? The next morning, I hooked up a pump at dawn and started draining, hour by hour. The water line sank lower. By noon, the shallow end was cracked dry, the deep end echoing like a cavern. My sanctuary was gone, but so was her leverage. Right on schedule, Patricia stormed across the lawn, heels stabbing the pavement. "Are you insane? Do you know how much this costs?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Every cent of this pool was paid for by me. You wanted to use it. Too late. Now there's nothing to use." Her face turned beet red. She jabbed her clipboard at me. "You'll regret this." "Brewer," I said quietly. "Maybe, but at least I'll regret it on my own terms."
Child.
Act 3. The showdown. That weekend, the HOA's official party went forward on rented turf. Not my yard, but Patricia wasn't done with me. She stuffed fake violation notices into my mailbox. Failure to comply with community participation. Endangerment of neighborhood morale. I nearly laughed myself sick. But Tuesday night, I heard sirens. Red and blue lights splashed across my living room. 2 squad cars rolled up, and officers stepped onto my driveway. "Mr. Brewer," one said, "we got a call about aggressive behavior and possible threats toward your neighbor." And right on cue, Patricia stormed out from her porch, pointing at me like she'd rehearsed it. "That's him. He drained his pool out of spite. He threatened me. He's unstable, arrest him." The cops turned to me. "Sir," I didn't panic. I walked them straight to the backyard and showed them the empty concrete shell. "This is my pool. I drained it because she wouldn't stop harassing me." "That's it." The older officer nodded slowly. The younger one scribbled in his notebook. Patricia shoved past the gate, voice shrill. He's dangerous. Look at what he did. This is malicious destruction. The officer held up his hand. Mom, draining your own pool isn't a crime. Patricia froze. You can't just let him. The cop cut her off. Ma'am, if you keep interfering, you'll be the one we escort out tonight. For the first time since I'd met her. Patricia had no words. She turned, sputtering, and stormed back toward her porch. As the police left, one of them glanced at me and said quietly, "Sounds like you've got a neighbor problem. Not a legal one." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Ciao. Aftermath. The neighborhood saw everything. People who had once stood on the fence, or worse, on Patricia's side started waving at me again. Brenda brought over cookies. Thomas apologized. Even Linda admitted. Patricia told us lies. The board didn't fire her, but they stripped her of her event coordinator role. The clipboard queen lost her stage. And me, I sat in my backyard, staring at the empty pool. For the first time in weeks, it looked peaceful. My son Julian laughed. Guess draining it was genius after all. Maybe it was because it didn't just drain the water, it drained her power. Final lesson. Sometimes the most powerful word you can say is no. And when you stand by it, even the loudest bully loses her voice.
Ma.